Good morning, Year 9. Welcome to your non-fiction lesson for this week. For today's lesson, we're going to be doing feedback on your piece of non-fiction writing that you did about protective parents from the 4th of February. Could you please make sure that you have that piece of non-fiction in front of you so you can edit it as we go through the feedback lesson? If you've lost or don't have that non-fiction piece because you didn't complete it, email me and I will send you a copy for you to work on throughout today's lesson. Pause the video and only press play when you have your non-fiction piece or someone else's non-fiction piece in front of you. Okay, if you're back, that means you have a non-fiction piece in front of you to work on today, and we are ready to write our title, date, and learning objective. Pause the video and press play when you have those 3 things written down, please. Okay, we should now be ready to complete the do now. You're going to complete these tasks by copying and correcting the spelling, punctuation, and grammar. I've just realised that I forgot to change the instructions there, so ignore that. But you know how this works. Copy the 5 sentences, correcting any spelling, punctuation, and grammar errors. Pause the video and do that now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to make your purple pen corrections. Please make sure you do this. So number 1 and number 4 were examples of comma splices, where a comma is used to join 2 independent clauses. And a comma splice can be fixed by replacing it with a semicolon, a full stop, or a conjunction. Number 2 is a complex sentence, where the subordinate clause and the main clause need to be separated by a comma. Number 3 has parenthesis, so additional information that can be removed from the sentence. That needs to be offset with brackets, dashes, or commas. And then number 5 is a fronted adverbial that needs to be offset with a comma. Pause the video and make sure that you correct these in purple pen if you need to. Okay, if you're back, that means you've done your corrections and we're ready to move on to looking at our non-fiction. So let's have a look at some of our what went wells, things that we did great. I was really impressed with the quality of a lot of the ranking paragraphs. You outlined some really clear reasons and then they were referred back to throughout your first 3 paragraphs. So this is your task based on the what went well. You're going to go to your paragraphs and you're going to label in purple pen your 3 reasons in your ranking paragraph, where you've referred to one of these reasons in your anecdote paragraph, where you've referred to the second reason in your data paragraph, and where you've referred to your first reason in your scenario paragraph. If you struggle to do this task, it might mean that your paragraphs haven't linked to your reasons, and that's something that you need to think about moving forward. I'm going to show you how this would look based on this ranking paragraph here. So let's read it. As the child of overly strict parents, I feel that it is my duty to express the dangers of overprotective parenting and the damage inflicted by the obsessive sheltering of children. So this student has stated their argument very clearly. Firstly, children will lack necessary life skills if they are not given the experience required to truly learn for themselves. Even more crucially, independence must be fostered in children. This must happen for them to function as adults. Most worryingly, overprotection has a clear impact on children's development. Inhibiting their freedom has devastating effects on their psyche and functioning later in life. It is undeniable that overprotection from parents is the source of much psychological damage and is a restrictive force preventing children from flourishing into healthy adults. That's an excellent ranking paragraph with some attempts at using a variety of punctuation. But let's focus on the reasons of this paragraph. Now, this student is going to have an easy time identifying their reasons, and that's because they've used these discourse markers at the beginning of each of their reasons. So it's very easy for them to track, as well as the marker, to track the 3 reasons that they are going to be developing throughout their response. So I am just going to label them for this task, and this student will do the same. So we have reason 1, we have reason 2, and then we have reason 3. And then the student will go to their anecdotes, data, and scenario paragraph and figure out whether these 3 reasons have been continued into those paragraphs as well. Pause the video and complete this task in the yellow box now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means that you have completed this task and you've now labelled your reasons in your ranking paragraph and in your 3 paragraphs. Now, another thing that we did really well was referring to our overall argument throughout your writing. At the beginning of the essay, you always outline what you're going to be arguing, and that needs to be referred back to throughout your paragraphs. And that is something that we are doing well. So now I would like you to go to your paragraphs and highlight where you state your overall argument throughout your writing. So let's have a look at this example and see how this would look. Nowadays, psychologists like me are really starting to notice behaviour in kids which sends a message about how they view their parents as overprotective. My problems with this are as follows. Firstly, parents used to be very strict in the 20th century and the contrast is almost uncanny to many. More importantly, children are becoming less independent as skills like cooking and simple outdoor activities are moving out of most children's array of things to do. Lastly, children can only learn things if they are taught things. So if a children is let run around all day, there is all kinds of skills that they will not learn. Therefore, parents are not overprotective, but protective enough to teach their children enough lessons to thrive as adults. So it's clear that that is this person's point of view. Therefore, parents are not too overprotective, but they are protective enough to be able to teach their children. Okay, now let's see, this is their paragraph, their data paragraph. So let's see if that refers to the same message. Secondly, children are becoming less independent with general tasks, making it harder for parents to be so free range with them. Studies show that only 1 in 3 children can cook a simple dish such as scrambled eggs on toast or an omelette. I wonder how many of you lot can cook scrambled eggs and toast or an omelette. This shows that many children are becoming less able to help themselves in most scenarios. This means that many parents must be protective in order to teach their children useful life skills. In light of this data, it is important that we realise parents must be protective for their children to learn and that you cannot overboard by mistake whilst raising a child. So some of the clarity in their answer is a little bit unclear, some of the phrasing needs some work, but in terms of referring to their argument, they do that actually quite a lot in this paragraph here. So they've used the data and they have explained how that supports their overall point of view. So now it's your turn. Pause the video and go to your paragraphs and highlight where you state your overall argument throughout your writing. Okay, if you're back, that means that your piece should be highlighted now and we are ready to focus on our improvements, what we can do better. So the first EPI is including parentheses to add additional information. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, madam, how many times are we going to practice parentheses? And I've realised that you can add parentheses and identify parentheses in kind of, a set of 10 questions, but your ability to transfer that into your writing isn't there yet. You cannot add parentheses in your writing at the moment. So we're going to practice adding parentheses in each paragraph in Purple Pen. Realistically, you don't need parentheses in every single paragraph, but for the purpose of this EBI, it's good to get some practice. So let's have a look at this data paragraph here. Let's read it and then see where we can add parentheses. It seems that an overprotective parent can already cause major problems for a child, but they can also cause a child to be overcautious throughout their life. A survey from the NSPCC out of 100 people they questioned, of 100 people who had all protective parents, 85 of them said that they were overcautious. This suggests that overprotective parents have an array of negative impacts on their children for years to come and could pass down negative aspects that could lead their child to not succeed in life. This is because being overcautious stops a child in later life from taking risks, which could pay off and then lead them to work for a job they want or create their own business. In my opinion, it is essential that overprotective parents are educated on the negative impacts that they are giving their child so they can stop. Again, it's not the most sophisticated paragraph. There are some kind of phrasing errors here as well, but again, we're only focusing on parentheses. So I'm going to grab my purple pen and I am going to add parentheses in, and I think I want to add it at the beginning here. So I'm just going to draw a little arrow, or you could star it, whatever you think. So it says, it seems that an overprotective parent can already cause major problems for a child, but they can also cause a child to be overcautious throughout their life. And then I'm going to put a dash, and then I'm going to write this would maybe create, oh no, I'm having a bit of an issue with my pen. This would, I'm gonna, just for the purpose of the fact that it's not working right now with this pen, I'm gonna just star it and put it at the bottom because I can't lean on the screen without making everything move. All right, so I'm gonna do it here. So I'm gonna do a dash, which is my parentheses, my punctuation there, and I'm gonna say this would foster an inability to take risks and learn from mistakes. So I've kind of been inspired by this idea here about taking risks. And just remember, when you put a parentheses at the end of a sentence, you do not need a dash at the end. You just end with a full stop. So this student is very lucky. They can just copy that parentheses down if they would like, but then they need to continue and add it into each paragraph. And that's exactly what you're going to do now. Pause the video, and in the way that I've just shown, add parentheses into each of your paragraphs in Purple Pen. Remember, you can use brackets and dashes, so do make sure you vary that punctuation. Pause the video and complete that task now, please. Okay, so you should have had parentheses, and we can move on to our next EBI, which is including satire. So I want to show you some really strong examples from a student, which was probably one of the best pieces of non-fiction that I have read so far teaching. So well done to this student. They're going to know who they are. So, and as I'm sure children just love being locked up in their homes by the overbearing and paranoid tyrants that they know as their parents. It is an unassailable fact that parents nowadays are too overprotective and must therefore be educated as to the dangers and negative impacts of their ways. This argument is flawed, however, as you cannot keep your child locked away forever. That's called false imprisonment, and it's generally frowned upon. So as you can see here, this child has used kind of like humour, sarcasm to reinforce their argument, which we can see in the highlighted kind of sections on screen now. But they've also been able to, in the rest of the paragraph, use very formal language to emphasise their point of view. And that's an excellent use of satire. So now it's your turn. You're going to go through your writing and you're going to add 2 examples of satire. You might want to flick back and look at the satire lesson that we did based on an article to remind yourself of some of the satirical features that you can add. But for example, you can add humour, sarcasm, irony, parody, any of those things. And I'm going to show you how I would do it based on this example here. Now, it is no secret that if you don't put yourself out into the world, you'll most likely not be presented with a wider range of opportunities and chances to explore skills. To prove this, a study conducted by students at the Oxford University stated that it was 72% more likely for an employer to choose to employ a person without overly protective parents. Now, this just shows how much your parents impact your life and how, if you limit the skills that your children could learn with a bit of freedom to explore, the outcome is usually positive. Therefore, parents should not limit their children's ability to explore life, as they will be able to learn skills that are crucial to their work in adult life. So I'm going to grab my purple pen and I'm going to add a piece of satire here. So I'm going to kind of develop this idea here. Now, it is no secret that if you don't put yourself out into the world, you will most likely not be presented with a wider range of opportunities. I'm going to add here, and I'm actually going to add it in parentheses, I'm going to write, now it's no secret that if you don't put yourself out into the world, then I'm going to put brackets, and you live like a hermit crab, shielding yourself from everything. Oh, why does it keep doing that? Also, can we just talk about how awful my handwriting is? Apologies. And you live like a hermit crab, shielding yourself from everything around you. So that's kind of a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of humour. It changes the way that kind of the piece is read. And also there as well, I've added brackets, so I added that parentheses in there as well. So now it's your turn. Remember, you only need to add 2 examples. Which paragraphs you want to put the satire in is up to you, but I do need to see those 2 examples added into your non-fiction. Pause the video and complete that task now, please. Okay, and our final EBI that we're going to work on today is our counter-argument paragraphs. I've noticed that because we didn't have much time before we left for remote learning to look at our counter-paragraph and future paragraph, they're a little bit sloppy. So this is the checklist that you have to write your counter-paragraph. These are some of the paragraphs that I was receiving. So let's have a look. People will say that this is not true and that their children are safe, but this is flawed because no parent should ever have to worry about their child like that. And the thing is, you are almost never certain about what's safe, demonstrating the extreme stupidity of people, therefore causing others extreme danger. A counter for this argument could be that children could be at danger if not protected. This argument is flawed as you can protect your child without overprotecting them. This shows it is unnecessary to overprotect as it doesn't do any different from normal protecting. So these paragraphs are not developed, they're not sophisticated, they are not matching the checklist or my expectations for what counter argument paragraph should look like. So I'm going to remind you what a counter paragraph should look like by improving the one that we have on screen now. I'm just going to close my emails so they don't pop up. I'm going to use this checklist to develop this student's counter argument paragraph. So I'm going to start off by saying, introducing the argument that counters your main argument. So I'm going to say what my argument is, and I'm going to say how someone counters that. So I'm going to say some ignorant individuals. Why is my I key? Oh my god, my I key stuck. That is hilarious. Oh, ignorant individuals. Oh my god, what's happening? Okay, some ignorant individuals may refute, actually we'll say contradict. Oh my god. I'm going to miss out I's, okay? You know where they are, but I'm going to miss them out. Some ignorant individuals may contradict the view. Actually, I'm going to try. Shall I just try and autocorrect it? I cannot believe this is happening. There we go. The view that children need to be given the opportunity to fly the nest and develop independence. I'm going to say, actually I'm going to add some parentheses here, much needed independence. So I stated my argument, what I am arguing, and then I'm going to say what people would contradict it with. I'm going to say, by claiming that children, okay, the I key is working now. Let's hope that I haven't jinxed myself. By claiming that children may be exposed to serious danger if they are not protected by their parents. So as you can see, I've just taken this student's argument here, and I've just kind of put it in a more precise format. Okay, so I've done this step here, I've introduced my counter argument, the argument that counters my main argument, and now I'm going to explain why that is flawed, and then therefore why my argument is still the best. So I'm going to write, however, this argument is simply ludicrous. And I'm going to write, to say the least. So again, you've got a little bit of humour in there, another example of parentheses as well. Now, this argument is simply ludicrous, to say the least, because you can still protect your child. I'm reading this directly off the student's response. I knew I jinxed myself. Protect your child by teaching them how to navigate the world in a safe manner. So there I have used this child's argument about you can still protect your child without overprotecting them, but I've developed that a little bit further because I need to give a specific reason, and I've said that you can protect your child by, my reason being that you can teach them how to navigate the world in a safe manner. I'm going to develop this a little bit further and tell the marker a specific way that this can happen. So I'm going to say, for example, teaching your child to, I don't know, put their phone away when they are walking through a busy street, so someone doesn't grab it, something like that. Okay, so I've done that step there. I've explained why it's flawed. I've given realistic reasons. And then at the end, I'm going to reinforce my overall view. And this child has attempted to do that here. It is unnecessary. Whoops. Unnecessary to overtet kind of there. And then they kind of attempt to give a reason. But again, I'm going to make that a little bit more sophisticated. So I'm going to say, therefore, this is further justification for the view that it is unnecessary to over protect your child. Full stop. Or your children. Full stop. Okay. So that is now my complete and my improved counter-argument paragraph. And I haven't actually changed this student's argument. I've just made it a little bit clearer and a little bit more well written. So this student has a great example that they can use when they go forward. So now I would like you to go and redraft your counter-argument. I recommend that you pause the screen so you can have the checklist as well as my improved version as a model. Pause the video and come back when you've redrafted your counter-argument paragraph in purple pen, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you've got a new and improved counter-argument paragraph and you are ready to submit your work. Please make sure you send me an image of your notes from today's lesson under today's date, as well as any comments or labelling or highlighting that you have done on your original non-fiction piece. So there are two parts of that submission: your non-fiction response and the notes that you've made on that, as well as your notes from today's lesson. Make sure you submit those, and I look forward to speaking to you in tomorrow's video lesson.